I never thought I'd be the type of guy to end up here, sitting in my car outside a yoga studio, heart hammering, palms sweating, trying to gather the courage to walk inside and confront the truth I wasn't sure I wanted to know. 3 months ago, life was fine. Not perfect, what is, really, but solid. Eliza and I had been married for 8 years. She was warm, witty, fiercely independent. We didn't have kids, by choice. It made things simpler, or so I used to think. Eliza had started taking self-defense classes after a coworker got mugged near their office. She told me it made her feel powerful. Strong. I encouraged it. I wanted her to feel safe. Wanted her to feel like she had control over her world. That's when she met Marcus. Marcus taught Krav Maga. He was ex-military, tall, that lean kind of muscular, with an easy smile and a voice that could settle a storm. The first time I met him, by accident, when I picked Eliza up early, he called me big man and clapped me on the shoulder like we were old friends. I didn't like him. Not because of how he looked or his confident way of talking, but because of how Eliza looked at him when she didn't know I was watching. That look haunted me. At first, I told myself I was being insecure. Paranoid. She came home glowing after classes, but that could have been from the workout, from the adrenaline. Still, small things started piling up. The late classes that ran long. The new perfume I hadn't seen before. The time I went to hug her and she flinched, not like she was scared, but like she forgot I was supposed to be that close to her. Then came the lie. 2 weeks ago, she said she was going to a weekend workshop upstate with some of the girls from class. I believed her until I bumped into Claire, one of those girls, at the grocery store that same Sunday. Claire blinked, confused, when I asked how the retreat was. Retreat? What retreat? It was like the ground opened beneath me. I didn't confront Eliza that night. I watched her walk around the kitchen like everything was normal, telling me about some book she was reading, and all I could think was, "You're not here with me anymore." That night, I called in a favor from my cousin Darren, who worked part-time in surveillance and IT. Within 48 hours, I had a GPS tag in her car, a few discrete cameras planted around the house, and access to her cloud photos, none of which she had thought to lock down. The footage told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't with the girls. She was with Marcus. A cozy Airbnb with a fireplace, wine glasses, and a king-sized bed. I watched her kiss him like she used to kiss me, slow and deep and hungry. I watched her laugh, curled up beside him, the way she hadn't laughed with me in months. That should have been the end, right? File the papers. Rage. Revenge. But no. Something inside me cracked wide open instead. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I didn't even cry. I just watched. Again and again. Like I needed to understand why. Why Marcus? Why now? Why not talk to me? I didn't want to leave her. Not yet. Maybe not at all. What I wanted was to make her tell me the truth. I needed to hear it from her lips, not a screen. So I made a plan. This morning, I told Eliza I was heading to a client meeting 3 hours away. Kissed her goodbye like I always did. She smiled up at me, warm and sweet. I wondered if she knew I knew. Now I'm parked outside her studio. I saw Marcus go in 15 minutes ago. He's teaching a one-on-one today. And Eliza? She's not just the student. She's the lesson. I didn't walk into that studio with a plan. I walked in with every emotion I'd buried under a smile for the last few weeks: anger, betrayal, confusion, and the tiniest shred of hope. Maybe she'd come clean. Maybe this was salvageable. Maybe. The place was quiet. Just the soft thuds of movement coming from the back mat room. I signed in at the desk like a stranger and waited, perched on the edge of a bench beneath the motivational posters about empowerment and control. Ironic. A few minutes later, Eliza stepped out, flushed and glowing. Her hair was tied back, a light sheen of sweat on her temples. She looked alive in a way I hadn't seen in months. That cut deeper than I expected. She froze when she saw me.
Daniel, she said, her voice uncertain.
Hey, I said casually, standing.
Thought I'd surprise you. You've been talking about this place so much. I wanted to see what the hype was about.
Her mouth opened, then closed. A flicker of panic in her eyes.
Marcus is still. I know, I said, letting her flounder. That's why I came. I'd like to meet your instructor.
You've mentioned him often enough. She hesitated, then nodded slowly, swallowing hard.
Sure.
Let me. She turned and disappeared behind the frosted glass door again. The moment she left, I heard the murmur of voices, low and urgent. I could imagine how that conversation was going. He's here.
What do we do? Does he know?
Yes.
I knew.
Moments later, Marcus emerged, towel slung around his neck, the picture of calm confidence. He smiled like nothing was wrong.
Hey there, he said, extending a hand. You must be Daniel. I've heard a lot about you.
I shook his hand, firm and steady.
Likewise. He gestured to the mat room.
Eliza's a natural.
Really impressive. I'll bet.
He didn't flinch, but something in his jaw tightened. She's told me you're very supportive of her self-growth.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of people getting stronger. Facing their fears. Learning to defend themselves. Eliza had come back out by then, hovering near the doorway. Her face was unreadable. Daniel, maybe we should talk. I nodded. Yeah. Let's.
Marcus glanced between us, then said, I'll give you two some space, and turned away.
We sat outside on the curb.
I watched the cars pass by while she picked at her nails, something she only did when she was cornered.
I know, I said quietly. She blinked. Know what? Don't. Please. Not now. I turned to her. I know about the weekend in the cabin. I know about the hours you've spent in his apartment. I know that this wasn't just self-defense. This was an affair.
She looked down, her voice barely a whisper.
It wasn't supposed to be. But it was. She nodded slowly. Yeah.
I should have felt rage, but I felt empty.
Why him? Eliza exhaled. Because he saw me.
Not just as your wife, or as someone who needed to be taken care of.
He saw me as someone powerful. Desirable. I did too, I said, my voice hardening. But maybe I didn't say it enough. Maybe you forgot. Maybe I did.
She turned to me, her eyes wet.
I didn't mean to fall into it.
It started small conversations, a compliment here, a shared joke, and it just became something I wasn't strong enough to stop.
I nodded, letting the silence stretch. Then I said, You're right. You weren't strong enough. But I was. And I still am.
What does that mean? She asked, voice cracking.
It means I'm leaving, I said quietly. Not out of vengeance. Not because I hate you.
But because I finally see myself again, and I deserve more than being your emotional footstool while you find yourself in someone else's bed.
She gasped. Please, don't do this. We can fix this.
No, I said firmly.
You had your chance to fix it.
What you did was a choice, not a mistake.
The difference is important. I stood up, brushing off my jeans. The locks will be changed by the end of the day. I packed a bag for now. I'll call the lawyer in the morning.
She sat there, stunned, broken. I looked back once, just once, and saw her for what she really was, not the woman I fell in love with, but the one I was finally free to walk away from.
And I did. I walked.
Not in anger, not in pain, just in peace.
For the first time in a long while, I was finally safe. From her.